Hello and welcome to the Make Ideas Reality podcast. I'm Justin White, aka the Garage Avenger. In a world of technology, we turn to our phones and computers to find like-minded people. We find them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And then we decide, let's make a group chat or a Discord server where we can connect on another level. But most of us still feel disconnected regardless. Something about text chains and video chats just don't seem to cut it. So how does one foster true connection with somebody? Well, the easiest way is through a shared experience, a pilgrimage. Today, Kristin and I will be talking about technology and its impact on us. We'll also share our experiences and what we've learned on our pilgrimage to Maker Central, a large creative expo in Birmingham, England. Then we'll discuss some possible controversial improvements to this event, and we'll finish off talking about the ultimate pilgrimage and what it looks like for us. You guys have been asking for Kristin to come back, and here she is, so let's get into the show. She joined the pilgrimage to support her man, thinking she'll be like Alfred to Batman. Connecting with others late into the night, turned out she was a superhero in her own right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, honey. That was awesome. Well
Kristin,
done.
my wife, thank you.
Hey.
You guys have been asking for Kristin to come back, and we decided that it was time. We had just come back from Maker Central. We got such amazing feedback at that event for both the podcast and, more importantly, Kristin and I when we're on the podcast together. So 100%. We thought, let's get back on and let's talk about some things we experienced and felt, at the event.
Well, we felt it was relevant. We'd just been there. So it was, we were talking about it on the flights home. We're like, let's do an episode on this because I think it's nice to have both the perspectives since I got to go. So back from Maker Central 2022, and I'm really grateful I got to go on this journey with Justin. It was really important. And on our flight on the way home, we actually talked about this, and we thought it was actually a good opportunity to have an episode about this and to bring me back on. Yay!
So this event was great. I'd been in 2019, knowing nobody, and then coming this year was fantastic because all of a sudden people knew me, and that was a foreign experience for me. And Kristin got to share that with me, which was really great. But
super awesome.
Being that it's like a very social event, I saw others, and to some extent myself, being worn down by the constant, interactions. And this led me to think kind of, why was it so tiring to be there and talk with people? Was it COVID-19? No, I don't think so, because I remember back in 2019, it was kind of the same. Like I felt completely run down after talking with so many people. And then I stumbled across this book called The Life We're Looking For, Reclaim Relationship in a Technological World by Andy Crouch. Now, he's talking about in this book how technology has impacted us and basically how we are failing to develop ourselves as humans correctly because we use too much technology, essentially. Now, he's not against technology. That's not what this book is about, but it's just talking about how we are and how we develop as humans. And that got me thinking about kind of this experience at Maker Central, why maybe we were run down. I mean, everyone's looking for love and connection. They're looking for the full human experience. But it wasn't so long ago, we used to be out in nature in the physical world. We often had a sense of connection to some sort of transient reality. We had to think our way through the world, and we had to activate our bodies and move. But how much time do we spend these days doing those things, Kristin?
Not that much, actually. We spend a lot of times in our homes and on our phones. Really, in the scheme of things, it's where the world has gone over the last 20 years, 30 years,
30 years, I'd
30
say,
years, yeah. So a lot has changed, especially for this generation, Gen Y, really. Like, it's been for everybody, of course, but that transition from where we grew up and then to now. So I think we spend a lot of time on technology, realistically.
I think it's ridiculous, actually, how much time we spend. I mean, I find myself spending hours and hours on the phone. I spend hours and hours on the computer. And, how often am I actually interacting with people on a daily basis? It's very little, actually.
My day job too, it's computer-based. Everything happens on this tiny little screen, realistically.
I mean, like in Andy's book, he writes about development and how it happens mostly against resistance. And, if you think about learning how to walk, what do? We train the muscles to resist against gravity. And we're able to stand up and walk around, right? And we're training the body. And then, like, with the mind, how do we get better at something? We train ourselves to deal with learning. We train ourselves to push against, forgetting things and start remembering things. But these days, when we're hit with resistance, we often turn to technology because it makes things so easy and frictionless, I guess you'd say. And I think
it's comfort, right?
Yeah, right. And I think that's why we're all just a little bit weirdly lonely and diminished and a little depressed. And if we've all become diminished people, then we have a very hard time finding something to do that has meaning and brings connection. And I think as makers or creatives, we think we have that. But I think there's something missing there. Because if everyone is in the same mindset as me, who is a little bit lonely, a little bit diminished, a little bit depressed, which, I experienced that a lot from talking with a lot of people at the 100%. Event. There was that undertone of like, it's a lonely road. And I think, if everyone's in this connection, this sort of mindset, who you actually truly connecting with? When you're sitting on a text chain waiting for those 3 dots, to sort of blink up and then,
what's it
going to say? And then you get this perfectly curated message from someone.
Or not.
Which these days could be a bloody chat bot. I mean, technology's come so far. We used to be in a world of necessity and a world that sort of developed us. And now we're in a world that seems to just fail to develop us. I mean, as humans, we're looking for recognition with other people, but making relationships can be hard. So what do? We turn to technology, for the path of least resistance, and we get this social media superpower, but where, are we developing our skills properly? I'm not sure. I mean, it seems we are all a little bit more fragile and less resilient, and find it more difficult to deal with, and properly communicate to someone, especially when there's a misunderstanding, or we just, they're a bit hard to talk to, maybe they're not the same as you, or maybe they've, got different opinions. And I found that too. Like, when I was talking with someone that, I didn't fully connect with, but I wanted to give them the time, I found it tiring to sit there and listen to them. I really wanted to, but I couldn't help but feel tired, which is, I think I'm broken in some regards. Like if I find it tiring to listen to someone. And I wonder if technology is to blame from this side.
For that.
I mean, look at the way we text. I mean, we are communicating in full control. Like the same with messages and comments on social media. Like it's full control, and it's only we're communicating in like a few bits, whereas like voice, like we're doing now.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing more than that. We're doing face to face, but voice is like megabits, and then face to face is like terabits of information, which is a lot to handle. We're breaking it so simply down to like a few bits, communicating exactly what we want, which is great and sounds very efficient. But are we
we can be
undeveloping ourselves?
It's short and quick, and it's more of a necessity, sending a quick note. But when it's a love letter or an audio book, realistically in letter form, it sort of makes it hard. It takes away a lot of that interaction. Like even though it's lovely, it can be lovely or unlovely. It's hard sometimes to respond to messages like that. It takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
It takes a huge amount of time. Like I hate it. I'm a full ringer. Like I do not text, mainly because I've said this before. If I ring someone and say, hey, like you want to go check out a movie, if I hear the tone of their voice is like not into it, like I know already that they're not into it, even though they said, yeah, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
And you can hear that, like, oh, okay, yeah. But if you get the same in a text message, yeah, I'm up for it. What do you think? You think that's a definite yes. Whereas when you call someone, it's like very clear that they're uncertain. And they're most probably going to bail on you. And you kind of like accept it. You're like, all right, cool, no worries. So you also limit the amount of disappointment you get when you call over texting.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it uses way less time, I reckon.
Hell yeah. But another thing, I saw somebody put out something actually just recently that it's because we're getting older. But you and I've always been like that. We always preferred calling over text. That has never changed. That hasn't changed in the last 20 to 25 years. Like, so I don't necessarily think it's got anything to do with age. I think it's actually got to do with what your preference is.
I mean, I think too, like when you text, you like to be in control. And then when you are in control, you have actually less of a relationship. And because, relationships are risk and it's improvisation, we prefer not to have that. So it kind of, like our lizard brain is saying, don't put yourself out there because you might say something stupid and then you feel dumb and then you feel not worthy. Instead, what we do is hide behind text chains or, comments and perfectly curate what we were going to say. And, I wonder if that's diminishing us as human beings and why we actually struggle to communicate to each other.
Oh, definitely. Surely it has to have had some effect over all these years. Well, the written word compared to what it was before, right? 100%.
Yeah, I mean the last thing I wanted to say is, because we limit the amount of, time around people, we struggle to have like hard conversations with people, and we struggle to deal with uncomfortableness. And I think that's probably something to say there, where we we struggle with that. And we avoid that at all costs nowadays because we're so not used to talking to that weirdo on the bus, right? We're like deep in our phones instead, and the weirdo's deep in his phone too, because he's trapped in the world, right?
Yeah.
So, but we don't get exposed to that anymore, so we can't deal with those people very effectively these days when we do actually interact with them.
Well, I'm the weirdo that talks to people on the train.
Have I gone too far, Kristin? What do you think?
I don't think you've gone too far, but I think there's two sides to every story, right? 100%. So I think the human interaction is super important for us, no matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, actually. And I think it's interesting because we're both quite extroverted people, but it was still draining also for both of us.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Totally understanding that it could have been draining for an introvert because they react completely different to those type of settings. But then even for us, I think I had a moment there in the toilet where I had to go, yep, okay, I'm awake again. To just like brace yourselves for a few more hours wandering around there. And they're so, like, the talking to people is one thing, but there was also so much else going on around you, so much sound and so many things affecting us at the same time, right? So, yeah, I don't necessarily think you've gone too far. I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I don't think we can't avoid it either. It's here to stay. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
You can choose to put it aside, but it's never going to go away.
Yeah, it was interesting because Andy Crouch, he talks about using our phones as a instrument, not a device. Because a device is something we just, everything's easy. It's kind of like intuitive and it's done for you. Whereas an instrument is like a guitar, right? So you pick up a guitar, you start playing, you learn how to strum the strings and what chords to play. And then when you're done that, you put it back on the guitar stand and just let it be. You don't have to pick it up again and check it. Check that it was working still, or what we do with our phones all the time. Up again, just to check one little message. So that's what he sort of
it's
saying.
An addiction too, right? It's especially with social media, it hits our happy hormone.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, but the hormone that makes us feel happy, but it's so short. That's why we keep on doing it and it again and again. It's kind of like a sugar hit. So anyway, but should we talk a little bit more about Make It Central?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, Make It Central 2022.
What a great experience that was, I think, for the both of us.
Oh, it was amazing. I loved it. Loved going. Super great.
The biggest thing I got from that event was just seeing the joy in others. I mean, it was amazing because I just saw people just light up when they saw someone they knew or when they, experienced something. And we met so many amazing people. It was just
meeting people face to face.
Yeah,
right?
It was so great. And meeting people that I'd met only on the internet.
Yeah.
And met finally in person, and meeting people that I've met last time in 2019 when I was like a nobody. And then,
you were as green and clueless as me.
Yeah. And I had built now in the last 3 years a podcast, and I expanded on my videos. And, I'd sort of
you've
built
done
my own
since
little
2019, May 2019. Jesus. It's a while ago. And we've had some time at home in that time. It's not like we've spent it all traveling the world, did we?
No.
So I think a lot of people have spent that time creating, really.
And it's been great. It was just absolutely great. What about you? What was some of the highlights for you?
Oh, some of the highlights for me, of course, meeting some of these people I've met over screen with you when you've had your previous podcasts. That was super nice, and I've connected online with some of these people like Nicole and Caroline and Lindsay, and it was just, sure, everybody else too, but those were some important people for me to meet, because there's been a slight interaction there from before. And also, especially with Nicole Duke, feeling being the wife of a maker, and how that position has been tremendous to sort of share that journey, and knowing that you have fellow wives out there in the same position, and how you interact with each other as a couple, then also in making and all these things. So meeting these people was super important for me. The other thing that I really took with me is the joy of seeing other people light up when Justin tells about a new project. That is not like, I get excited for Justin, and I try and listen as much as I can when he uses me as a sounding board. But at the same time, my brain doesn't always compute. Computer says no. And then seeing that reflect in another person when he tells them about it, and they completely understand and can visualize exactly what he's just putting into words, which I find hard visualizing sometimes, and he actually has to draw it out. But seeing that just over a table and over some food was just, it was so much fun, like seeing the joy and excitement in somebody else just from talking about a project. And then seeing Justin in his element of other makers, like people he has connected with, people he knows and have gotten to know over the last few years, and seeing him in that element where he has now found his way to, was a pure joy for me, because I know he spends a lot of time alone in the garage. I am always here for him. I'm his biggest fan, but I can also only give so much. I have myself, and we have kids, and we have dog, and we have family, and I'm quite a traditional person, and I like pulling people together, and that takes time. And so there's a lot. So he spends quite a bit of time alone. So I think it was so nice to see him connect with people in this way. And I think another thing that was really huge for both of us was all the hugs. We're huggers.
Yeah.
So I think there was some amazingly genuine, like, so happy to see you, haven't seen you in person before, hugs. And just, oh, that hits you right here, right in the soul, right in the heart.
I have to say, one of the best hugs was from Gus from Man Cave Makings. Like, we saw each other. It was like, you could have put some romantic sort of like, music in, and, he gave probably the best hug I've ever had. Like, probably helps that he was tall enough for me, actually.
You didn't have to I
didn't have to hunch over. But man, that hug was absolutely amazing. And like, it just
makes you feel seen, though. It makes you feel
man.
appreciated as a human being. And the hug, there are like physical facts about what a hug actually does for us. And when a hug is given tightly enough and well enough, it releases oxytocin, isn't that? No, is that the sleep version? I can't remember. Anyway, apparently I can't get it right.
Yeah, no, we don't. We're
not falling asleep. It's the happy drug in us. So it releases stress and anxiety and all these things. So hugs are actually quite amazing all on its own. And when you get that reciprocated from a person, there's just so much connection that comes through that, and understanding and love and willingness to just accept to be together, in a sense. Like, there's so much innocence in a hug. I love it. it's amazing.
Yeah, and I love the experience where I got to go around and see everybody. Like it was really great for Nicole Duke and Carolina Hines, what do you want to say? And to sort of, they were often together, and I felt like Kristin was looked after. And so it gave me the opportunity to go talk with people that I, knew or knew of, and, network, and also just enjoy my time with them. For a brief moment, I did have a bit of like FOMO because Kristin was hanging out with Bobby a lot, and Barnaby Dixon was also there, hanging with them, and they were having a good old laugh. And I looked over every so often, and I thought, oh man, I should be over there with the cool kids, like
we were the cool kids.
But I did think at the same time, like, no, like, I don't need to be at the cool kid table. Like, this is my opportunity to meet you guys. This is my opportunity to
meet everybody,
be approachable.
Really.
Yeah. If I sat down at that table, I would be unapproachable. And that's what I openly, honestly
you
thought.
Wanted to spend time with everybody, and you still spent time with us. I think you did a great job at mingling, as we call it. So, and for me, I felt really looked after, and I connected with some people, and it was just lovely, and I had such a great laugh. And that's what I take with me. When I can laugh, I'm having a great night. So a good laugh over some beers and some pizza. That was a really great treat. And just talking to everybody, meeting small makers to big makers. Everybody's just as important, because they all bring that human aspect to it. And so sitting there talking to different people on different nights was amazing. I have to admit, I've taken in so many names over the weekend. They do elude me a little bit at the moment. So I'm really sorry for everybody I can't remember the name to. But you were all amazing.
I don't think they're holding against you. But one name I cannot forget is Peter Miller.
Yeah, he came and had dinner with us.
Oh my God.
Thank you. And so lovely to meet you, and your beautiful work. And you really,
I feel I have to tell this story. So this beautiful gentleman came up to us and introduced himself, and he was very kind to and very excited, I guess, in some ways to meet me, and we were sitting around, and Chris and I were hungry. We were going to go get some food, and so we said to everyone, we're going to go off and get some dinner. And he sort of came over to us and said, hey, is it all right if I come eat dinner with you? And of course, for Chris and I, that's great, no problem. So he came with us, and we went to order food, and I was ordering my food, and then he just kind of pushed me aside, and said, I've got this. I'm like, no, I don't. No, that's fine. I'll pay for myself. Yeah. It's fine. He's like, no, I want to do this. So, I've learned to be polite when people want to do things like that. You have to let them. And so he paid for our dinner. It was a lovely thing to do. And, it was literally minutes later,
so overwhelmed.
He was sharing with us that he had been unemployed for a while, and he was just basically doing this woodworking stuff. But the funny thing is, he never really expressed to us what he was doing for woodworking.
No, we didn't see that until properly Sunday. Like, we saw a little bit of it, like the chip. You got the chip, right?
Well, it was the Saturday I saw it.
Yeah.
And I could not believe my eyes. If you guys have not checked out Peter Miller, you need to do so immediately.
I will put
a link in the show notes to him, his Instagram profile. He makes these segmented turning pieces, which you will just mind blown.
Fantastic stuff. But yeah,
I mean,
such a pleasure to meet you, Peter. It was amazing. and you just need to keep rocking it and keep making your amazing stuff. And you need to put it out there for people to actually be able to buy it, because you're going to do great.
Yeah, 1,000% there. And I want to also say that, everyone that said hello to me, like, it meant the absolute world to me. Like, sometimes I maybe didn't have the right way to express that to you guys, but like, if you're listening now and you came up and said hello to me or introduced yourself or whatever it was, I mean, I'm so grateful for you. And if you were at all going to, but you didn't, because maybe there was someone I was talking to, I wanted to encourage you, if you ever see me again and I'm talking to someone, just barge right in there and say hello, because it would mean the absolute world to me.
I want to mention another person that's been really, really supportive to us, and especially to you, and who calls you all of a sudden while you're in the garage. And I really want to mention him because it was such a joy and pleasure to meet him. And that's Rob from Prickly Sauce.
Yeah.
It's such a joy to meet you. And thank you for the hugs and the laughs and the smiles and the support that you give us. It's truly amazing.
Yeah. You're awesome.
100%.
I will though say that there were some things that I noticed at Maker Central, some small undertones of things, people struggling, and I think that a little bit sort of comes back down to what we were talking about, technology. People just, I guess, struggling to be, alone, and they're all a little bit depressed. I don't know if it's just like the COVID-19 or what it was, but there also seem to be like the same questions coming up over and over again. People are struggling to pursue their passion, and I think a lot of people are looking at the money side of things, and they're looking for the quick way to make something happen from the money side. And so I think we're going to have to address that sometime soon, not in this podcast, but I think that's something we have to talk about a lot. But the event in general was pretty awesome, but of course there are always some improvements. So I thought we would talk about some of these improvements that could possibly make the event better. What 100%. Do you reckon, Kristin?
Yeah, 100%. Can I just mention one more thing about the positive side of things?
Oh, if you must.
Making the puppets.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was such a joy. We went to the Make with Makers table, and last time you made some stuff with Ellen, which was cool, and you're like, oh, we should do that. And then Lucas, I think, said he still had some spots for making a puppet. And we just went, yes, let's do it. Like, Justin was like, come on, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. And it's so much fun. I love my puppet. Like, I pulled her out at the airport because there were insane queues, and these kids were so patient and impatient, and I couldn't help myself. I had her in my backpack and I pulled her out, and she took some tears away, and you know what? That just made it so
that was
worth
so
it.
Good.
That was so awesome.
Yeah.
And it made people smile all around in the queue. Because
actually, you're right, it did.
I think if you just look beyond yourself sometimes and just don't care really about what other people think, you can create so much joy around you. And I've really taken that with me. And even here at home, when I pulled up Susie here to our son.
Oh yeah, Susie is the name of the puppet.
Yeah. And he just took over. He just fell right in the role of being Susie and talking and playing Lego, and she was eating his Lego, and it was amazing. So thank you. Thank you so much for putting that on and letting us actually be a part of that, because that's probably one of the the bigger things I took with me from there, of like experience, in a sense, not just meeting the people is one thing, but the actual experience of making something there as well to take with us. Yeah.
I mean, that's,
and that comes into the improvements again, really.
It does. I mean, that was a fantastic part. Watching you also light up when you were making it made my day, which was fantastic, because I thought, oh, maybe she could like start making things. Anyway, I got a little bit excited there. And but I think that's the thing, like it was such a great thing to be making with others, like people showing you what to do, or like teaching you,
having a laugh around the table.
Geez, if it was a bit more like that, if it was like, for example, 50% that, and 50% selling and tools and different things like
businesses
that,
and showing off like marketing side of things,
then
I think
I think the event would be way better.
Even bigger. Like there were some other places where there were other things to do, like building the castle or whatever with cardboard, and the Jenga, and the different things. There were
blacksmithing and and a bit of turning and stuff, but it's very limited, let's be honest.
But I think if you spread it out even more, because all the makers do such different things. Some are really good with the resin, is that right?
Yeah.
And others are really good with carving, and then maybe like make with makers, they also had the whittling, which was really good, right? Whittling, sorry, wrong word there.
Whittling.
Whittling. Anyway, but I think we both agreed that there should probably be even a little bit more of the making side of things, and to see the more makers in their element.
Yeah, that was that's one thing was missing, is seeing some of the amazing talent in their element. There was a lot of talent walking around, and we didn't see that them in action. So I think that would have been an improvement.
That would have been really cool.
I think too, though, there became groups within groups, which I found a little bit cliquey. And I really wanted to encourage people to sort of open up and try to be more inclusive of everyone there. I found that a lot of people sort of weirdly closed their circles when they were talking.
Oh, well, that's such an interesting experience. Which we've tried before. So I'm very conscious of it. So if I ever see people come around, I always back up. I always move. So I open. You tilt. As soon as you tilt your body a little bit, you open the circle.
Yeah.
And they can come in.
So I mean that's just, most people probably don't see that as a problem, because they don't see the person, itching to sort of join the group or join the conversation. So, I noticed that because of basically what Kristin and I have sort of talked about previously. And, and I think that's something we could definitely improve on. Anything for you, Dolly?
I think like groups on groups, I think that's a natural, that happens in every element anyway. Like wherever you are and whatever settings you are, like even take my birthday, right? I love how you just ate a chocolate, then you couldn't help yourself, could you?
No, it's right there.
But like in my birthday, it was quite interesting. We had like, there was the old crew, that was a table. It was the where we live now crew, like parents. It was the ice bathing crew. And then it was the family and extended family and Australian side international crew. So which was really interesting that everybody, they mingled through the night. Some, not all of them. But at the same time, it's very interesting to see how you automatically clustered yourself into these clusters. And of course, the more alcohol, the more open people get, usually.
But it also, again, going to what we began the podcast about, I wonder how much of that has sort of developed over the last 30 years of technology implementing into our lives. Like, do we find it so difficult to mix with people that don't think like us?
Yeah, or
And why is
just
that?
people you don't know. And in the end, if we don't actually start combining and mixing people, you miss out. Like, I feel so enriched and blessed for this weekend. Like, Jesus, I met so many lovely people, both that live here in Norway that I really want us to like invite here and connect more with and go visit and support.
Yeah.
As well as I would love to take our kids and travel to America and visit our now awesome friends there. Like, and I am a nomad in that sense. I love moving and being with people and have people come together. I think that's really, really important. So it's interesting. Like, it's good to mix, definitely.
I think, though, to be honest, the event could have been held anywhere. I mean, for my part, you didn't have to be in an exhibition center. There didn't have to be like hotels around. There didn't have to be displays of, companies. And it literally just had to be like people getting together that all did stuff. I mean, that, in my opinion, would have been just as valuable. And so I think perhaps
like
that
even
is
a campground or tenting in the Highlands, just bringing with you stuff, right? Like, or maybe there's somewhere else you can meet over time, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think too, that sort of comes on to the last thing we're going to be talking about is like, what is the ultimate sort of maker pilgrimage? I talked to a couple of people about this because I was kind of toying with the idea about this before the event. And so I asked people like Jimmy DeResta, and I asked people like Bobby Duke and many others that I spoke to, what is the ultimate maker pilgrimage? And got varied answers. Jimmy suggested that it was Maker Camp in New York, which is just near him. And I thought that was a pretty good one because that Maker Camp is very much what we were sort of discussing previously about the improvements. It's more makers making things, so I think that is a potential great pilgrimage to make. And I would love to do across America and end up, at Makers Camp. I think that would be an amazing pilgrimage to take with a couple of people that maybe I don't even know.
Yeah.
And we just get to know each other, and we just, hop from, for example, from maker to maker on the way to
we
Makers
started
Camp.
Elaborating on that plan, didn't we? Like on the flight home, we're like, ooh, you could start here, and then if everybody can't make it there and people have to open their houses, and like, I'm a natural event planner or like travel planner, so my brain just went loopy. But yeah, it was fun to sort of see how that could actually come together. And I think for most people that would be a real huge pilgrimage. A pilgrimage is really where you move over.
Yeah, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
It's starting somewhere and going to somewhere. I think to some extent, Maker Central was a pilgrimage because everyone was coming from different places. But it'd be kind of great to do a journey all together. Going from place to place.
Yeah. Not just you and me. You mean?
No.
Though we had good laughs.
Yeah. But I think other people talked about UK-based sort of events. And Europe-based events. We have a guy in Sweden trying to organize like he calls it a maker meetup, but it's, there's going to be some people doing some stuff there this summer. And I think that could also be, a pilgrimage of some sort. And I wondered sort of.
Well, it does create community again, as soon as for every time you meet up, right?
I wondered, guys, like, I would love to hear your suggestion. What is the ultimate maker pilgrimage? I think this could be an exciting topic to talk about. I think, if we could get an idea of what the ultimate maker pilgrimage is, then perhaps we could actually make it happen.
Mm.
Perhaps people would jump on board. Perhaps people would save a buttload of money and just join and do this thing, and it would just be life-changing. I think that's what I'd love. So if you guys have any suggestions, please make
Far
sure
away.
you send me a DM at Garage Avenger on Instagram. And I'd love to hear from you. I think that wraps it all up. But before we go into our rapid fire 5, I want to, thank my patrons like I normally do.
Like me. Just kidding.
Especially to you, Kristin, you're giving
making sure
me
we pay
my own
tax.
money back and getting taxed on it. Thank you. I want a big shout out especially to my top tier heroes, Stian Serhus, Sylvester Arneson, Andreas Vollman, Ryan Wilson, and Jürgen Malku. And a big thank you again to my crazy wife for supporting me with my own money. You're awesome. If you look forward to every episode and you'd like to hear perhaps the after show, or you just want to support the show because it needs your support. There's a reason why I'm only making this once a month, and it's because
we can't do this without your support.
Yeah,
it's that easy.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So please, if you want to, I'd love your support. Please head over to patreon.com. There's a link in the show notes. Now, the rapid fire 5. You ready, Kristin?
Bring it on.
This is modified for you.
Okay.
Today.
Oh, it's modified for me.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm not looking.
What is something people got wrong about you at Maker Central?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that I watch YouTube videos. I don't know. Or I have no idea. That's a hard one. I can't do that quickly. I don't know what people got wrong about me. Maybe they thought I was an introvert and I'm a super extrovert. I don't know. Yeah.
What's something you like doing at Maker Central that had nothing to do with making?
I just hang out with people. I love people in general, and I love to get to know new people. So people's my thing.
What advice would you give to those who haven't gone to such an event?
Oh, come. And especially if you are the partner of a maker, I think it was a great experience and a fantastic opportunity to meet people who are in the same situation, or meet the makers that make this community. I 100%, and for anybody else as well that would love to check it out and see what makers do, and that the written path of culture isn't necessarily the right path for everybody, that we're all different. And I think that's the beauty of it, and that's also what they kind of try and promote here, that it's okay to choose your own road. And I think that's really cool. So I think, of course, everybody, but also for partners of makers. Yeah.
What was your happiest moment at Makers Central?
Oh, that's hard because I think there's several.
All right, let him rip. Come
on. Of course, we had some time before, so that was really good. Not really got to do with Making Central, but that was really important because we don't travel a lot together. So
it's quality time for us, right?
Yeah, that was amazing to get that quality time. And then making the puppet and meeting Nicole, Barnaby, and Carolina, and sitting down on the floor and just having a floor chat. That was awesome. And
there wasn't very many seats at that event, was
no,
there?
that was missing a bit. That was actually one of the things we wanted to talk about, that the seats were missing. There should have been more seat benches around the area. That would have been great.
There wasn't like a socialization gathering area, was there? Yeah.
And just bean bags around the floor. That would have been a great thing to have. But anyway, that, and Saturday night, the pizza and beer, that was really fun. I haven't laughed that much ages. I had a fantastic time with the Dukes and Barnaby Dixon. It was, and I'm so grateful for
I
that.
definitely had FOMO then. Like, I was like looking over at you guys laughing. I was like, that could be me laughing with the Dukes.
Yeah. And then Derek came over with the spud gun, and that was hilarious. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And then that's a real highlight that I take with me.
Awesome. Who should be the next guest on this podcast?
So should I not mention the fact that you have a next one coming then?
You could have just slipped it in. I was like, hey, presto, I got it. I got this person on.
Actually, I think it'd be really cool to hear Barnaby Dixon on here. I think that'd be really awesome. I really enjoyed getting to know you. Just so you know.
Well, since you've become good friends with him, I'm guessing it should be easy just to send him an email then, huh? Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Thank you very much, Kristin. Thanks for coming on the show. I hope you got something valuable from this episode. And, if you guys think that technology is perhaps limiting you then through your human interactions, like I just encourage you guys to think about using technology as an instrument and not a device. So the second you find yourself numbing yourself on it, put it down and go interact with humans the real way. Of course, we're not going to ever get technology to go away. It's here to stay. But I think, we need to be able to develop as humans. And I think perhaps, I hit something on the head there. I don't know, but if you agree with what I said, then perhaps we need to look at, spending less time on those devices, numbing, and use them as tools rather than, numbing devices.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to be back. It's been a while. So it's actually a joy. We do jam a lot. We talk a lot. So it's a joy to be able to be here and jam with you.
Well, I hope we've inspired also you guys to, look at connecting on a pilgrimage yourselves. Be sure to, contact me with your ideas. I'd love to hear them. And I just want to say thanks for listening. I'm Justin White. Until next time.
Thank you.
I've got to remember my outro. Until next time, keep pushing yourself, keep ballsing up things. Keep learning, get inspired, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Later. What the fuck, Kristin?